Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we are going to discuss the next step in our data engineering journey, and we are going to look at the function because in our previous video we discussed the advanced filtering criteria where we extend our where clause to put more and more condition. And let me put this way, we make advanced filtering on our data set so we can get the desired results. And like I mentioned, that most of the time you get these sort of requirement back from the business where you need to apply these filter in a in a smart way to filter the data. By saying it, obviously, today we're going to discuss another side of the filtering criteria, which is more like from the logical perspective. Because yesterday we actually looked the logical side, but that is more like filtering the records. Now, how about if you want to change the attributes value in some way? Like for example, if I'm getting the quantity and I want to display the double of the quantity, or let me put this way, that I'm getting the salary column and I want to show the revised salary, which is maybe 10%. By the way, it's very rare in the current organization. Anyway, that's something separate. Who knows? So if we want to display this sort of thing, so that means we need to change the value in some way that we can get the new outcome. In order to do it, we have the functions available. We have the option that we can either do by ourselves or we can use the built-in function. By saying it, let me share my screen and then we'll discuss it. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Yeah. So now you can see, like, for example, yeah. So we're going to discuss how we can write the expression and use the built-in function within the SQL environment. Like I'm reiterating one point again and again, focus on the concept, guys, because the syntax is going to be changed from application to application, software to software, cloud to cloud, right? But tell you the truth, the main concepts are going to be the same, right? If you can understand the core of SQL, you're gonna learn any SQL based database very quickly, whether it's going to be AWS Athena, it's going to be Azure SQL, or even Azure Synapse, a built-in pool which provide you the database capabilities to write the SQL against them, or even serverless pool, or if you are working with Google SQL engine, which is available in the Google Cloud platform. We're going to look into it later. So just focus on the concept, and then later on, once you are building the solution, or once you are working into multiple technology or tool, it's all about learning the syntax, and the rest of the thing will remain same. We're going to try that once we do the similar thing within the Spark environment. And today we're going to actually, after finishing this one, we're going to jump into our Spark environment, which is obviously Databricks based. If you haven't got the login, please go and use the community based free uh, environment and create your login there. That will provide you heaps of opportunity to learn the Spark in from the big data perspective. And I tell you that you're gonna really enjoy once start gripping on the Spark. You're gonna see how you can scale your load into multiple servers or nodes which are running underneath your cluster and handling all these heavy duty stuff on your behalf. By saying it, let's come back to our today's topic. So we have, like I mentioned, two different words. Whenever it comes to changing the values of the attribute, on one side we have the built-in function, and on the other side we have the expression. So what's the difference between these two? I'm going to show you in a moment. uh, Most of the time, it is preferred if you can, instead of writing your own function, always try to search if any existing function is available from the SQL library, then reuse it, because that is already optimized from the performance perspective, and you don't need to put that effort. And there's always a famous saying, don't reinvent the wheel in the industry, and especially now in these days, the way technology is going with such a pace, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. If you can find the existing solution, and it, even if it is coming as part of the existing library, please use it. Don't create a new version, right? Until unless the capability is not there, then we can go and we can create a new function. So obviously we're going to see today the power of built-in function, how we can utilize this function into our existing query. Obviously these functions are categorized into multiple category, which is obviously math based function. We have string based function that manipulate string. If you have already worked with Excel, or you have any basic understanding, you can see that how these functions work with different data types. Obviously we have date and time function, which you can use to manipulate the date data. So the common concept, if you can see with all these function and expression, what we are doing at the end of the day, we are changing the value based on our requirement, right? So that's another concept, that whenever you get the business requirement, especially in the industry, they always come, okay, we need to change this value to this one, right? Can you apply a particular condition, and can you see that can we get y value based on x expression? So these sort of thing, right? And these things you can cover with the built-in function and expression. And obviously there are logical function and expression, and one of the most famous and heavily used statement in the industry is the case statement, because tell you the truth, that statement will help you to to write all sort of business logic in the SQL queries. But it's good, but it has the dark side as well, guys. I have literally seen thousands and thousands of lines of code where 80% of the code is consisting on case statement. So what happened? They keep extending because there is no proper data modeling, there is no proper data architecture in there. So what devs are doing, they just getting the business requirement and keep going with with the flow. They keep adding case statement, but they didn't realize it is making the query more and more complex, and eventually it start giving them the performance issue, because if the case statement is so long, that's really gonna create a big overhead for the query engine who's going to execute it. And tell you the truth, it's not like, I don't want to share a bad news, but unfortunately that's the fact, where most of the organization, they are struggling. People come on board, they write all these I would say not smart code, or really complicated or spaghetti code, and then to get thing going, and then they leave, and now the whole thing is sitting there and nobody is willing to touch it, right? So that's where we have to be very careful. We need to be very smart when we are going to use the case statement, and when we are not going to use it. I believe the case statements is very similar to a go-to command in the programming language, and we all know that when we need to use go to. And I tell you the truth, most of the time in our programming world, we never ever use go to until unless it's really needed, right? Because that will start some crazy flows within our code, and it's really hard to manage at the end, that if we have those sort of backtrack loop exist in our code. But that's the programming side. We are not right now talking about programming. We are in the data world, so let's stick to the data world. Then we have some administrative functions, like we can get the database name, we can get the username who's running the queries. So every database software that provide these functions as part of the software, and the API provide you all the information that, okay, what's the syntax, what's the command that you can use, what kind of parameters you need to provide to the function or command to get the outcome. Now, last but not the least, before we jump into our lab environment, there's an interesting thing. Where should we put these function or expression? So funnily, we have three areas where we can apply these function or expression into our SQL statement. Obviously, like I mentioned, if we want to change the column value or attribute value, we are going to apply the function or expression on the column value. Secondly, if we want to, for example, apply the function on our where clause, we can apply there, because during the filtering, we have the capabilities that we can apply some function to change the value and then compare it. And a very famous, a very simple example is, like, for example, if I just want to convert the value into uppercase and then compare whatever value is coming for to me to compare against. I just want to make sure that both sides, the case are same, whether it's going to be uppercase or it's going to be lowercase or camel case, whatever case it's going to be. I want to make sure both are equal on the same side. Another example, if I want to compare my date value with the current date. So for example, if I just want to return all those records which have been entered today, so one function which I can write, I can hard code the date. So hard code means I can write down the date. Another smart way, I can provide a function that whenever it runs, it get the current date from the system, and then based on that, it filter out all the records. So you can see that how the logic has been built in your mind as soon as you start using these function. And last but not the least is the order by clause. You can provide this function in the order by clause. Order by clause, we haven't actually read it yet, so we didn't study so far. What I'm gonna do, I'll leave it till that point where we're gonna look at the group by and the order by. So by saying it, enough theory, I will jump straight into the lab environment. Here with me, I'm just connecting to my lab environment. Yeah, there it is. Cool. So now you can see I'm in here. Today we're gonna do something bit professional, because right now we are just right click and creating a query script, but slowly I'm going to take you towards the professional approach, how professional normally work in their day-to-day life, how we create the data scripts assets or data assets, and how we manage them during our stay in the organization, and how we assure that once we leave or anyone new comes on board, they can pick up wherever we left, right? So it's a collaboration effort. It's not like you are only working alone in that area and nobody knows what you are doing. It's always a collaborative effort that produce the good result. So by saying it, the very first thing we need to do, we need to make sure our work has been arranged, and Microsoft did a great job in that way. They provide us the SQL-based project where you can go and you can create your project, and that project help you to keep all your scripts and collection string in the project format. Because at the end, you can, once you finish your development work, you can hand over that project to your infrastructure team, or you can deploy that project into staging environment, so business can test the outcome, and once they are happy from this staging environment or UAT environment and give you the sign off, you can take that project and hand over to your infrastructure team, and infrastructure team deployed as a part of best practice, because theoretically devs shouldn't have any access into our production environment. So that's from the practice perspective. Last but not the least on that, you can take that project and then you can actually commit in your Git repo, wherever it is going to be your local Git repo, it is going to be Jira based, you have maybe you have purchased Stash, or you have used Microsoft DevOps instance, or even if you have used your own Git flavor, it will provide you the opportunity to commit it back into your code repository. So later on, if someone wants to work, they can create a branch, or they can pull your code there and start extending it. So that's another a big discussion on how the coding life cycle work, and how we can assure that we have a proper system in place, so it will save our devs effort to do the development work. But today we are going to take first step. We are going to just create a project, and later on I'll see if I have I know that the DevOps, Azure DevOps is not free. It's a charge service, but I'll see if I can find some way to actually show you how you can actually push it into the Git, and then we can, get it back from the Git by creating a new branch, or, a new pull request. So I'm going to create, I'm going to create SQL Server base. You can say, see, by the way, we can create similar project for analysis services. What analysis services are, what kind of scripts we can create, it's a future discussion. So we'll leave it at the moment as it is. And you have two options. You can create the project and you can create the solution. By the way, once you create the project, a solution will create automatically. You can see create directory for the solution, and I'm going to actually keep that setting intact. And I'm going to change the directory just because I don't want to store on the journal. I'm just going to do in here. Yeah, courses, and I'm going to place it into my data engineering course. And I'm going to call it SQL. So all my skills which are going to link to this course, I'm going to actually place them in here. Because at the end, what I can do, I can literally take out this project and I can commit into my Git. Even I can use the online Git version, and then I can share with the world. And anyone who wants to use, they can either download, or they can really create a pull request, or whatever they would like to do. They can do it, right? So now you can see we have the connection and we have the query. So let me go and let me write my first query. Yeah, I just want to, and you can see the connection has been configured automatically, because later on, once you deploy into another environment, all you need to, once you apply there, you can change this connection to the respective environment. Now I'm going to, before I use it, like I always mention, I want to function. So all good. Always use, especially once we start working in the project environment, you can see the practice is going to be changed. Now I'm more conscious and more careful while I'm writing my script, because I know that this script is going to be moved into different environment. So now you can see how the things have been changed from your playground to the dev environments to this UAT environment and to the production environment. Let me put this way: more high you go in terms of criticality of your environment, more you are careful and more you are limited, in terms of doing things freely. So now obviously I need to select my database. So I'm just going to, because I'm working into this database. By the way, you can use command. You can use command to change the database. So if you just keep an eye on that drop down, currently the current database, because that drop down shows you which current database you are actually working in, and you can see in here as well where my mouse is. Like it is showing you currently you are in the master database. Master database is the functional database, system database. Please don't create anything into there, because sometimes we mistakenly create an object, procedure or function into master database. Highly not recommended to touch the master database, because master database is used by the system to handle system activities, right? So it's very, I would say, against the best practice, or I would say it's highly unrecommended to use a master database for your development activities, right? So that's why I always put that use command on top of your script as a practice, that whenever you write any script or you want to run, the very first command automatically change the context of the database to the respective database, so you won't touch incorrect database. That will really help you or save your other databases as well, because most of the time it happen, and unfortunately almost all of us are victim if we are working into multiple environment. How many times it happened with you that you have deleted a wrong table into a wrong database, right? Don't tell me, because I think we are all victim of this scenario. Anyway, coming back to the scripting. So as soon as I run this command, by the way, you can use the F5 key in the SQL Management Studio, and you can you can run the script, right? I think I mentioned before, and now you can see immediately the database name has changed from master to analytics dev, and you can see in here as well. Just one more thing, what I was about to say. Leave it with, if I remember, I'll let you know. Now coming back, let me see what tables I'm going to use today. And if you remember, we have a person table in our database. So I'm just going to I'm going to use person and person. Let's see. And by the way, if you remember yesterday, we did something that is already showing you how you can apply the function on your data. But today we are going something different. What we are going to do, because we know our first name, middle name, and last name are in a separate field, but we have a requirement that we want to display a single name. They have a field called full name. So there is a requirement from the business who wants to see the full name. So how we are going to display a full name? Business entity ID. Now what we are writing, have a look, we are writing expression first, because that's how you're going to see the difference between expression and the function. We have the first name, and then we have plus sign. Plus sign in SQL, it has dual meaning. If it works, if it has been used with numerical data, it's used for summation or for addition. But if it has been used for the textual data, then it will use for for concatenation. Like you can concatenate, or you can combine multiple textual or string output. We're gonna see in a moment. Let me put some space, otherwise the name's gonna join each other. There's a space, and then we have middle name, and then we have space, and then we have last name. And obviously after that, I want to display title like I was doing it. I want to display suffix. Is there anything else? Yeah, I need to display person type. And I want to display name style. So all good. We're gonna see the value. Let's run the query. And now one thing which is funny, like yesterday, if you remember, when we run this query, we know the first and last name is not null. So there must be something wrong where we are getting the value as null. And you know how I can quickly prove it? Let me get my first name, last name. There we go. So you can see Roberto Tembrello. It's a very difficult name anyway. Okay, that I think the second one is a bit easy. Michael Rahim, that person, its first name and last name is present. However, oh, sorry, I think I just need to do one thing. Yeah, I think now it's better. Yeah, I didn't actually put a comma. However, the full name is coming as null. And by that way, let me just give the column name. Name. And if you want to put a space in your column, given column name, you can, just put them in the bracket. Now let me run it again. Now you can see we have a nice column name, which is now coming on our new column, but we still have one problem, and that is that we are unable to generate the full name where one of the value is null. And now that's where, if you remember, I told you null is a specific value that if it use against any operation or expression, it's gonna return you null value, which is obviously unknown. We have no idea what kind of value it's gonna contain, but for us it's always going to be null. So one thing that we are now going to take one step further, and we are going to put expression with function. So now so far you have seen that now that is expression where we are using the operators, the given operators, and we are building something, right? Now we are combining, or now we are going to use the function which is part of the SQL, and that is null. We have used it yesterday as well. And for null, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put empty string. So now that is empty string, like I mentioned before. I'm not going to put any value because that might confuse the user, or user doesn't want to see any value, because normally, for example, if I don't have the middle name, so that doesn't mean that I'm gonna write down Muhammad unknown Slahuddin, right? Because obviously that doesn't make sense, right? My name is going to be only with my first name and last name, right? The similar way that if there are cases when the value is not present, you don't need to write them. So that's a perfect logic. And now let's see again. Now we'll keep an eye to see whether Rob Walter is going to appear or still going to show us the null value. So let's run it. And bravo, we have the Rob Walter, and you can see there is a space between Rob Walter. But now we have seen that we have two spaces, because obviously if there is there's a value in the middle name, then everything is coming fine. And let me just put the middle name as well to just show you. So you can see Gigi N, because N is the middle name, Matthew, right? But the problem in here, if we don't have the middle name, which is null, then we are just putting additional space, because our middle name has one space before and one space after. So it's a good challenge that we can resolve in the later script, right? But just keep that in the mind. So these are the output that normally create complexity in our work, because business is not is not accepting partial outcome. They are very sensitive with the final outcome of the data, because they need to use data to do further work. Keep in mind, guys, whatever data we are going to produce, that data is going to further use to either contribute into some sort of strategic activity, or in some sort of operational activity that leads to the strategic goal. So you are on the driving seat. Whatever you are actually building or creating, that is going to feed into some system that has a bigger value or has a bigger impact into the organization. So while we are working, we need to be very mindful of all these these process structure, because that will help us to improve our work and provide the data capability that can genuinely contribute into the business strategy or goal based on the data, right? So that's how we use the expression and function. In the next video, what I'm gonna do, I'll just split it into multiple video. Don't want to actually create lengthy video, but just for those who likes to see everything in one row, I'm gonna at the end combine all these video and then upload it. So if you don't want to click on multiple videos, you can just go with one lengthy video. So in the next video, we're going to actually go a bit deeper into the functions, and then we'll see how they work within the SQL environment. So thanks for watching. I believe it's going to be very helpful, and it will help you start your journey in the data engineering, which is really the hottest topic in the currently in the industry. And hopefully you start getting the idea of what you need to prepare to get the best data engineering job. So stay tuned. I'll see you in the next video.